Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Later on the show, we've got someone, fascinating guest coming on. I can't wait to share with you. You know, they talk about chemtrails as a conspiracy theory. Is it? I don't know, because we have had numerous military whistleblowers who have come forward saying, oh, actually, I saw it for my own eyes. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But first, I want to go through, we have 100 full days in the books of the Trump 2.0 administration. And I guess, honestly, to celebrate that, I feel like President Trump, you know, he's one of a kind. He's very unique. I'm constantly telling Stephen, I don't think you understand. This is like, there will never be another person like President Trump. Ever. There will never be a president like President Trump. He is so unique. And I think that his way of celebrating is to line up this combative interview with legacy media, who he knows is going to try to railroad him. And so that he can purposely engage in these interviews so that he can just destroy these people, just mop the floor with them. And he makes it look so easy. It's just so beautiful. And you know, he has to walk away from that feeling just so satiated for just reminding them that they are scum, that they are, again, as I like to say, as often as we possibly can. President Trump came under fire the last go around for saying that the mainstream media was the enemy of the people. How have they done anything but proven time and time again since he said it? Anything except that they are. Of course they are. And so I want to play some of these, I usually say lowlights. These actually were highlights. I actually loved them. I loved to see President Trump in his greatest form, which is, of course, going back and forth with these mainstream media members or any member of the left who wants to challenge him and challenge his policies, what he has done, and, of course, set straight the fake news. And so I want to play first this clash. This was a big part of the conversation, was, of course, the MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because the left really thinks if they just make this guy a Maryland father, it's so sad. This Maryland father was deported to his home country, El Salvador. This poor gang member father. What are we going to do about that? And I want to play some of this clash between this blowhard, what's his name, Terry Morin. We'll get into that in a moment. But this clash centered around this stupid gang member that they just continue to think that this is going to be a win for them if they keep talking about it more. Watch.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was photoshopped.
That was photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because it's fake news. When he was photographed
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No, but they're there in your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
It's like, no, we're not moving on.
Okay.
We'll take a look.
We'll take a look.
It's a disservice.
We'll take a look at that, sir.
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else.
It's contested.
It's contested whether or not he has MS-13 on his knuckles. That is contested. I'm told that that's a Photoshop. We'll look into that. I think the time to look into that, sir, was before you had a sit down with the President of the United States accusing him of making something up. Probably. Terry, your big break. This is what you prove yourself to be, a total freaking clown. Let's look at this close-up of the MS-13, of course, tattoo on this guy's finger. So obviously they're showing you the M, the S, the 1, the 3. It's the marijuana symbol, the smiley face, the cross for number 1, and then like this is all proven. And he's like, well, actually, it doesn't actually say M and S and 1 and 3. It doesn't say that. Well, here's the thing. That's what they mean. And if you look at the tattoos when he just was with Senator Chris Van What's-his face, he just met with this guy, and you can see whenever there's a photo floating around that he's sitting at the table, and it's those same tattoos. They're right there. They're faded because he's been with the gang for a long time. Okay, the tattoos are already fading, but they're still there. And by the way, if there was nothing wrong with those dumb tattoos, why then did his wife cover the tattoos up with heart emojis when she showed their pictures on social media? Explain to me the curious placement of those dumb heart emojis. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be putting heart emojis on a picture with some guy who beat the shit out of me. I wouldn't be doing that. But she wants to flaunt their love. He only beats you because he loves you. She wants to flaunt their love on social media, and she manages to put the heart emojis to cover the knuckles. Isn't that curious, Stephen?
Quite curious.
I mean, okay, so you are, this is like art to you, like pictures and videos and all of that. It's really strange because like it's not in the middle of the picture. It's not where a normal person would put them. It's deliberately covering, there it is, it's deliberately covering his knuckles. Isn't that curious?
Yeah, it's quite curious.
Maybe it's because he has a gang tattoo.
I just can't get over he just said it's photoshopped. It's not there in the other picture.
It's photoshopped, sir. That's contested. It's photoshopped. That's not really there. I mean, it is.
It's his right hand, so it's not in that picture, but I wish I need to go back and look.
No, there's a picture of him from
had
the meeting.
it. Do you remember when it happened? I'll go look for it.
No, I thought that, yeah, go look for it. I thought that I assumed that we would have had it, but it's literally, he's like holding a menu or whatever. He's meeting in El Salvador with Chris Van What's-his-face. And it's right there. And they're like, well, who among us hasn't had tattoos on your knuckles that spell out MS-13 with the actual symbols that spell it out? I mean, it's just a common combination of the marijuana and the smiley face and the other things that mean 13. That's just a really common combination that people use. You prove that it's MS-13. You prove it. I mean, they are just going all in on freaking nuts, crazy. And so when you look at just talking about the issue of illegal immigration, because that really did, aside from the MS-13 conversation, that really was the focus, the left. Again, President Trump was elected in November in a mandate, mostly because people were so tired of 20 million illegal aliens coming across the border. How the hell do we fix that? That is not sustainable. We need someone who is going to get these people the hell out of our country. And so they started talking about border crossings, illegal alien crossings. And they have to double down on stupid. And this ABC reporter did just that in this exchange. Watch.
Illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
about my message?
Methods. About your methods, how you're accomplishing
They seem to
this.
work.
Are there questions?
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you aren't deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me
At
ask
this
you, did
point-
we get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21 million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world. They had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but did
we give them a hearing when they came in?
law, but where's their due process? But he said, well, there has been a staggering decline in border crossings, but some people are questioning your methods. Like, who's questioning his methods? Nobody except the radical left is questioning his methods. Everybody is happy about the fact that we have 99.1% reduction in border crossings. Like, there's absolutely no sane person who is questioning these methods. These people did not care about due process when they made their way in. They do not get due process on their way out. They are not American citizens. And you'll notice the absolute, just disgusting antics on display when he said, well, you're not deporting American citizens at this point. These people are absolutely insane. And I want to play another great point that President Trump made, because you know what they're walking him into, of course. Well, every single person deserves due process. Well, buddy, when you have brought in this many millions of illegals, that is absolutely unsustainable and not possible. And maybe the point is you want to keep them here because you know that you just imported your new set of voters. Watch.
All I can say is this: if you're going to have 21 million people, and we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law
give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials. Hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in. They're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally.
And
we have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out, and we have to get them out fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
Americans.
People come into our country illegally. There's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
No.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Steven, can you imagine like simping so hard for criminals?
No, I cannot.
It is so crazy to me. Like, they are just going all in on simping for literal criminals.
We talked about this last night. They could hit him on the economy or, some other things that they might have something that could go, and they go to this. I don't get it.
They could have the statistics of like, but what about the tariffs? The tariffs are hurting the economy. The economy, I mean, I saw on Daily Mail, the headline was like, economy, shock plunge in Q1 of economy. And they could be hitting that. Now, someone who knows enough to know what the overall long-term plan is would say, I'm trusting the plan. I realize this is a long-term strategy. Short-term, it's going to hurt. Long-term, we're going to be in a much better position than we have been in decades. And so a reasonable person would know that, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm just saying that at least you could understand what they were trying to come at from that. They have an angle. The stock market had issues or whatever. Like it's just, I don't understand why they don't do that. Right. They're sticking on Maryland father in this crap that he's overwhelmingly has huge support on.
I have a theory for that, Stephen.
What is it?
They're just retarded. I think it's like you're thinking too hard about why they're not doing something. You're thinking too hard as if they have some overarching long-term strategy. It could just be that they are gay and retarded.
That's a fair point.
Just don't hurt if you think about it too hard, your brain's gonna hurt. Don't hurt yourself. It's not worth it. It doesn't make sense because they're retarded. Okay. So I want to let's play a couple more here before we have to go to break. Let's play, of course, he had to ask about Vladimir Putin. And, this is a man, Donald Trump, who has told, we were told for years and years and years that he is a Putin puppet, that there was Russian collusion, all of this. So, of course, they're going to try to, do you trust Vladimir Putin with the war in Russia and Ukraine? Here's some of that.
His dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered
All right,
with a
we're back to
tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No, I
just
am
tell
not,
you,
sir.
do I trust?
You are
I don't
not.
trust a lot of people, but I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me, and I believe
Yep.
because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine.
Okay.
It's a war that never should have happened. It did happen because of incompetent people.
Last question on this.
But it never should have happened.
Well, do you trust Vladimir Putin? Well, he respects Donald Trump a hell of a lot more than he respects puppet Joe Biden or cackling Kamala Harris. I can tell you that. I mean, listen, you recall when Kamala and President Trump were running against each other, he literally endorsed Kamala Harris with a laugh because he knew that she was too stupid to have any sort of cohesive foreign policy against him. So he's like, yeah, Kamala, she's great. Yeah. Good luck to you, ma'am. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more. I want to remind you guys, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. We are, again, it's our 2-year anniversary this month. We've got one more day here until it is longer. But 2 years ago in April, we were demonetized, and we've stayed that way. It costs nothing to make sure you subscribe to the show. Hit the like button. Smash that like button and comment. It'll help us in the algorithm. And I know you guys are on the live chat and you're like, boop, 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 because I love it that you guys do that. But also go over to the standalone, to the main video, and make sure to leave a native comment on there as well. We want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who live in constant pain. You think that that's your life. And I have a lot of pains in my life right now. Some we won't get into, but it's not you, Stephen, by the way. It's not you. You're great.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. You're beautiful. But Relief Factor is there for the physical pain. I need something else for the other pain, but Relief Factor is working for my physical pain, which is great because I was in a car wreck a long time ago and it screwed up a bunch of discs in my neck and my back. And Relief Factor has helped me tremendously with that. It has also worked for so many friends of the program, as well as Glenn Beck. It's like the whole studio is like, we love Relief Factor because it has worked for nearly all of us. Try it if you're in pain. See if it works for you. It's all very, very potent, all natural anti-inflammatory. So it gets to the root cause of your pain, which is typically the inflammation in your body. So this is not going to mask anything. It's going to totally eliminate the pain in your body. And that could be life-changing for you, especially if you were in a lot of pain like I was. Go get that 3-week quick start over at relieffactor.com. 70% of the people who order that go on to order more. It's working for most people. Relieffactor.com. Now, just to finish up here, because it was really epic. And I was trying to pick like, I want to show that, but I want to show that, but I want to show that too. I want to play one of the, another interesting part was he was asked, this guy's like, but do you trust this person? But do you trust this person? And he was like, do you have 100% confidence in DOD Secretary Pete Hegseth? Watch.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young. He's smart, highly educated. And I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth?
I don't have 100% confidence in anything. Okay? Anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look.
It's a pretty important position.
I have, no.
Oh, no,
you
really?
You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Let's go.
It's so good. It's so good. They try to get him with these gotcha questions, and he's like, you're not going to get me with that. No, sir. I'm going to turn it around back on you. And I want to play one more here when speaking of turning it back on the media, of course, the media was largely responsible for covering for Joe Biden's mental decline. You have all of these books coming out now. You have like Jake Tapper, like, here, let me write about Joe Biden's mental decline. Like, well, you weren't telling America about it when you were actually in charge of delivering information to the American people before the election. You conveniently covered for him. Now you want to talk about it. And I want to play President Trump's exchange with Terry What's-His-Face on hiding Biden's mental decline. Watch.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
All right. Thank you. Cut his mic. Cut his mic. He's spitting facts. We don't like that. Please cut his mic. And it just, I mean, you know, Stephen, it couldn't happen to a more deserving group of people over there at ABC. I mean, maybe CNN. Maybe they might be more deserving. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the fact that George Stephanopoulos is their top guy is really a joke.
Yeah. Well, you have to imagine that that's part of the reason that that President Trump said that he picked this guy. He's like, I don't want the former Clinton staffer.
Yeah, do you agree with that?
1000%. Why would he do that? I mean, first of all, I would agree with not allowing ABC in there at all. Like, I just wouldn't sit, if I'm President Trump, I wouldn't sit down with any of these people. I would be sitting down. I mean, I know he sat down with Glenn. I would be sitting down with outlets that I know are going to cover me fairly. And I can say that without a bias.
Yeah, but he loves it.
You're right. Well, you're right.
Loves it.
You're right. You're right. And that is part of it, is that like he just genuinely likes that. That's why I said at the beginning of the program, I feel like this was like a celebration for him. He's like, what can I do to celebrate 100 successful days? I know. I'll call in the mainstream media and embarrass the hell out of them. And it's just going to be must-see TV. And it really was, because he's the showman. He knows what is must-see TV, and that is what that was last night. Thank you, President Trump, for the entertainment. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back with a very fascinating guest who is here to tell you, if you believe in chemtrails, yeah, you're not a conspiracy theorist. It's actually happening, and she saw it with her very eyes after working in the military. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So we're about to be in May, and May is Mother's Day month. And in the month of May, Mother's Day month, let's celebrate the gift of life by rescuing babies. I mean, hello, that's what Mother's Day is about, right? And so Preborn, their network of clinics exists exclusively to offer love, life, and support to pregnant mothers who are feeling scared and alone and are being pressured to make the ultimate choice that will not only sacrifice the life of their preborn baby, but also take a piece of their heart. I mean, the left is telling these people, you won't regret it. It's just a clump of cells. And they're lying to these women. And these women are coming out just forever changed. And they can't get that back. So what Preborn is doing is they are offering women free ultrasounds and hearing the heartbeat, so that they see, this is actually a life inside me. This is not just a clump of cells. I was lied to by those people. And God has entrusted me to take care of this baby. And so the majority of time after they see that on ultrasound and they hear the heartbeat, they're going to choose life. So this month of May, can you help us? Look at that. I want that meter to the very top. This month of May, can you help us bring life to both babies and mothers? We want to sponsor 600 ultrasounds. One ultrasound is only $28, 5 ultrasounds, $140. Every penny goes towards loving mothers and babies well, and we will keep you updated on how many babies we are going to save this month. So please, please help us get to 600. You can do that by going to preborn.com/Sarah. That is preborn.com/Sarah. I want to welcome to the show, it's her first time on the program, Kristen Meghan. She is an exposure scientist and a veteran. And here to, I know you are actually very good on a lot of issues, but I want you to first talk to me about the issue that you kind of came onto the, I would say, Maha scene for before there even was really a Maha. And that is the issue of chemtrails.
Yes.
And you say the word chemtrails.
Rumpelstiltskin. That's
right. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, you're a conspiracy theorist. There is no such thing. And so I want you to explain to the audience your background in this particular field and kind of your journey into what you know now.
Yeah. So it's basically 2 years of figuring this out. But basically, my background is I have worked in occupational environmental safety and health as a senior industrial hygienist, as an exposure scientist for 23 years. And 9 years of my profession, I worked in a field on active duty in the Air Force called bioenvironmental engineering. So for people to understand, it's like the DOD's equivalent of OSHA, EPA, DOT. And actually, it was about 2006. My brother was like way more aware of what's going on than I am. And he showed me this documentary and it talked about chemtrails. I say that with air quotes and I'll explain that later. But I just thought to myself, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because what I have to do in my job is anticipate, recognize, evaluate, and control a myriad of health hazards. So like in the workplace, I have to know what everyone is doing, what chemicals are they using. And part of that was I would have to see what was coming onto the base and make sure, oh, this is really carcinogenic. Are they wearing respirators? Do they have engineering controls so that we could track nobody willy-nilly buying like really dangerous solvents that could be substitute for something cleaner? So in my mind, the things that were claimed to be involved in this weather modification, I thought, I have to engineer out those same contaminants, toxicants.
Right.
Why would we be dispersing that to be inhaled and ingested?
Right.
Well, in my journey of trying to debunk it and basically tell everyone they're ridiculous, I realized not only is it real, but it's coming right through my office. Because when I would have to, a lot of people that have industrial jobs are familiar with something called a safety data sheet. It used to be called a material safety data sheet.
An SDS.
Yeah, so now it's an SDS. The M might have been racist. Who knows?
I was going to say, why? I don't know what? Don't ask questions when it comes to bureaucracy.
But, basically, there's certain things that are on those sheets. And it has to have packing group information, like if you're shipping it, does it double contained, all these things. It was missing so much information. And I always say I'm never going to go to jail for anybody. So it was missing so much information that I pushed it to the side and was like, I'm not approving these. And then later it hits me, oh my goodness, these same things that are coming in like powdered oxide form, these heavy metals, are the same metals that people are claiming. And I thought, it's one of those like your whole world.
Yeah.
Just, what?
Yeah.
So I was quiet about it for a while, bought my own equipment, rented it, actually bought my own sampling equipment. I started doing soil sampling, air sampling, different types of techniques. And when I finally went to my supervisors and was like, is this? Then I got by the way, few days right before this happened, I had just won what they called non-commissioned officer of the quarter for my performance.
Uh-oh.
Then it was, are you doing okay?
Uh-oh.
And it's kind of hard for me to talk about this,
Yeah.
but they're like, are you doing okay? And I was divorced at the time. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it together. It's a very scary time. Yeah. And
for the audience,
yes.
just so that they know, how long ago was this?
Oh, this was in it started around 2008.
And that's still how hard it hit you.
Because when you're in the military at this point, well, I spent 9 years in active duty. So this was around 7 years in. It's all I knew. You know, I went in after 9/11. This was all my adulting was being owned by the government. Yeah. And I mean, they tell you your hair can't touch your eyebrow. You can't, there's all these rules. So I was so scared. And then they threw are you okay? You know, you're looking a little depressed. I can put you on a 120-day mental hold. Who would watch your daughter? Like those type of backhanded. And that's
get in line.
Get in line. Fight or flight mode kicks in and you go, shit.
Yep.
And then I was actually supposed to re-enlist. And it just definitely a God thing because I was supposed to re-enlist. And without any warning, with about 10 days left, I was out the door. No job. I didn't even get to go through the transition thing that they give you to like set up life as a civilian. Wow. It scared my higher ups. And I immediately got an attorney, got whistleblower protection. And I was very vocal for a long time because I actually left. Well, let me back up a little bit. This was at one base.
Okay.
Because in the Air Force, there's technically 3, but one is small, so it doesn't count. There's 2 huge air logistics centers.
Okay.
And one is in Oklahoma and one is in Georgia. Okay. And after coming from England from a fighter wing, I was so lucky that I got stationed at both. So I saw it happening at one base. and then continued my investigation because I happened to, it's called PCS, Permanent Change of Station, to Warner Robins, Georgia. It was at Warner Robins, Georgia, where it really all came together. And I realized this is happening at the 2 air logistics centers. Well, what happens at these bases? Well, aircraft is all on a maintenance schedule. Corrosion control, rust, all the things. It gets taken down to the last screw every 10 to 12 years. So there's all these different civilianized and military shops, a lot of civilians at these bases. And they will sandblast here, all these different processes. They were also retrofitting the aircraft. And these were classified programs, meaning I'm an industrial hygienist. If I had to go in and do a health risk assessment of what they're doing, I can't even bring my clipboard out. I had to leave it there. So there's things that I can't tell you, but I'm telling you, aircraft is being retrofitted. And that is the earth-shattering moment. That is what I forgot to include originally. But yeah, so this was a multi-year journey for me. And I had no plan. I thought I would be in a career. I'd retire at 40,
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that if you told me in 2010 that you would have states trying to ban these programs, I'd have told you you're crazy.
Like Florida, right? Right now, Florida is trying to ban. I mean, I'll use chemtrails with air quotes because you did, and you're the expert. We've got this video here. People always say it's contrails, right? They say, you dummy, you don't even know a contrail. You don't know the difference between what a chemtrail is, which doesn't exist, and a contrail. But then you have these chemtrails, I'm taking your lead. You have those that are actually, they stay. They don't just dissipate like the contrails do.
Because contrails are very real. You know, part of my job is studying weather patterns because I did a lot with East Palestine, Ohio. You have to track the winds and dissipation rates based on ambient temperature, relative humidity. So there's absolutely reasons we have contrails. The problem is persistent contrails. And now I think the reason it's more talked about is because you have all this technology where you can track celebrity planes and flight patterns.
Right.
When you start to see not every flight that is doing a pattern with no mission is a training flight. So you're starting to see now, and when you talk about
that plane be up there,
yes, and there are weird clouds that look powdery.
Sure.
So, and I think that's where the disinformation crowd gets in. And to be honest, I distanced myself from this movement for a while because there was just so much disinformation being slung out there. I'd get tagged in it. Pictures of people that have like a chemtrail team patch, totally fake. It's to mock those of us who, I will say I put my life on the line over it because I've had countless, death threats over the years. But, persistent contrails aren't as prevalent as people think. And then the problem is people think that every line in the sky is geoengineering. But what this program is really called is stratospheric aerosol injection. And as a matter of fact, the UK just came out recently to say, hey, we're doing this, and use the same stratospheric aerosol injection.
Right. So it's interesting the way that this usually works is that they say, no, that's not happening. You're crazy. And then they say, well, actually, it's happening, but here's why it's good. And so I guess that's where the UK is now. They're like, no. We're going to slap a fancy name on it and it's going to be totally fine. And so because they're trying to like turn the sun down, right?
Yeah. And if you think about
that's
it,
crazy.
So in one of my master's programs, I want to say this was back in 2014, maybe, in one of my environmental textbooks, they even had it in there. They talked about the different programs with graphics. And I posted this on my old Facebook, may she rest in peace, this information. And
you don't mean to tell me you've been censored along the years as you talked about this actual truth, right?
Yeah, but people have talked about the idea. There was a guy, I think from Harvard, David Keith, has been talking about this for years, like way back in 2011. And I've always told people, anytime the government is telling you this would be a great idea, we're just, it's a theory. It's no different than like your husband saying, hey, what do you think about an open marriage? He's already cheating on you. Right. And think about way before we had aircraft. Yeah. They have patents. They're using balloons. They've been trying to modify the weather before we had manned flight. So just like we didn't stop with the Model T Ford, we have self-driving cars. If you think that they just stopped there and already had the drive to modify the weather for crops and different things, you've got to be really ignorant to not understand that this is truly going on.
So the EPA said that they are investigating private balloon launches that are releasing sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. This is a company called Make Sunsets. I am sure that you've already heard of this. They say that they're creating sunscreen for the earth. That's what they called it. And this is kind of the reason that Florida was moved to ban this. EPA says it's pollution and it may violate clean air laws, but it's like, I feel like we would be better in this country if we all agreed that every person should have informed consent. We should have informed consent on what goes injected into our bodies. We should have informed consent on what we consume. And we should definitely have informed consent on what we are breathing in when we think we are merely breathing in oxygen.
Yeah, that makes too much sense. So that's why I can't say it.
Yeah.
The EPA knows about it. And I want to say around 2013, I was working in a VA hospital. And I was having a spot inspection. And I was in Region 5 EPA. And they came in. And me and the inspector just, I was like, off the record, which it is, because I won't tell you his name. It was a man, last I checked. But I asked him, what do you think about this? I didn't even say how I knew, just what do you think? And he said, yeah, it's happening. We're just not allowed to talk about it. And we're just supposed to look the other way. So, and he just kind of and that was the end of the conversation. He wasn't like, oh, we hear about that. We get phone calls. It's crazy. He was like, yeah, it's going on. Wow. I mean, so nonchalant, because my problem is the EPA likes to go after small mom and pop businesses, but the government is actually the biggest polluter, especially the military. Mm-hmm. Outside of this, the military is. So that's why I'm all for disbanding the EPA, because the selective enforcement, it reminds me of, back in the 80s when you could smoke in a restaurant.
Right.
It's like, you're fine over here, but, the air never moves.
Right.
Just like COVID,
Yeah.
When you're seated, the air doesn't move.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a very, very sophisticated virus. It only attacks when you're standing. Yeah. When you're sitting, it's totally fine. You can be close in proximity and you won't catch anything. Okay, so let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to ask you, these people are just nonchalantly like, yes, it's happening, but we can't talk about it. I want to talk about how many people you think that is in government who just know and are gaslighting the American people who, accuse them of doing the very thing that we know that they're doing. First, I want to remind you guys, if you guys have not gotten your VIP tickets to Fearless Roll Call, what is it, like the third 3.0? They've got Tucker involved. They've got a lot of fun characters. It is this weekend. Make sure that you go to fearlessrollcall.com to learn more. It is in Nashville with Jason Whitlock. That is fearlessrollcall.com. So a couple more questions I want to ask you, but the first is, you're talking about this situation in which clearly multiple other people within the government, military, EPA, whoever, know that this is going on. And they've all, I guess, agreed to keep this big secret from the American public. Like, how far does this go where these people are just like, yep, it's totally fine. I won't tell a soul.
I get asked that a lot, and there are pilots who've come forward. In fact, I think they used my same attorney, and I don't know what happened with them, but even to this day, I still think that the military is involved based on messages that I've gotten from people who, I don't even want to say what branch of service, but very reputable. I don't think I'm being punked because it's come from more than one avenue. I do know that it was private contracted for a while, but I'm being serious when I say this. I try not to question sociopaths because honestly, somehow millions of people were convinced to be involved in an experiment. So there's people that had to know, like, they lied about what was in it, all these different things. There's so many things that have happened throughout history. You ask yourself, how many people, like on a sidebar, I've been following this Karen Reed trial in Massachusetts. If you know, you know. And people are like, how many people would have to be part of this cover up? Well, who knows if someone has something on someone else, or they've really programmed these people to go, they don't understand how it benefits the earth. They could be lying to people. I don't know. That's a question I have. But we come from an era where we had asbestos in our homes. Mm-hmm. People already knew it was carcinogenic. We were putting DDT on children. So we've done things throughout history that people knew it was wrong, but they had benefits, whether it's, gambling on crops over here, or I don't know. And there's companies now, like Rainmaker was part of the Florida testimony. Yeah. So I don't know. I have the same question.
So is that what you think if you were to ask them and they were to be candid with you about what the purpose of this is, what is the goal? What is the entire purpose of chemtrails? It would just be, controlling the weather?
Well, they've admitted why they do it, and it's to dim the sun because of global warming. But I do wonder, though, if a lot of people that are behind this actually believe in global warming.
Right.
And any time, because there's a lot of patents behind this, and you can go to geoengineeringwatch.org and get that information. I always say look at the government's own documents. But I think anytime some people can find a way to get into a niche or profit, even when you see just like trends on social media, you know, this magic weight loss tea, like everyone makes it. I think that people see an idea and they want to capitalize off this whole, you know, climate change agenda, which really the only climate change is climate engineering through geoengineering. So I do think it is to dim the sun. And this is what the UK has admitted. But we did use it as a weapon, you know, back in Vietnam. Think about people, I'm not saying it's not an issue, but you lose your gun rights, you lose all these other rights. But if our food is contaminated and our water is contaminated, you know what I mean? That to me is a huge issue.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So when you're talking about food and say soil, have you done any like tested the soil or the air or whatever for samples?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah, I did that many, many years ago because this like shook my whole mindset of everything. And, you know, it just made me think differently about the military. I lived right outside the flight line. So anytime, remember the fog in Florida?
Yeah.
So I always tell people, anytime you do any type of, it's called ambient air sampling or grab bag air sampling, you have to understand background and you have to know what buildings are near you because the EPA allows certain pollution. It's called PM 2.5. Like certain facilities can actually release dioxins at a certain level because they say it's diluted in the atmosphere.
Sure.
But I knew the background of my area and I knew I could do grab bag air sampling. You put area sampling where you put it on a stanchion kind of with a media filter, but it's not as reliable as when it is, you know, dissipated and gets into the soil. So I took background data, bumped it up against my soil and did it at several different spots around the base within a 10-mile radius. And the background levels of heavy metals of strontium, barium, aluminum, there was another form of a sulfate. I can't even remember, but I just remember going, some of the levels that I found, if you were business, would have flagged an EPA asking you to remediate your soil.
Wow. But they are just doing it to us.
Yeah.
And people know, and they're covering it up.
Yeah, I mean, the EPA told people in East Palestine, Ohio, it's okay to have an Easter egg hunt just where you had, you know, to me, the most horrible, it should be a super fun site in East Palestine. I've had my hand in that too. I don't trust the EPA. Yeah. I mean, even after 9/11, remember when they told people it's safe, you know, it's just asbestos.
Right.
So.
Do you trust the EPA now?
No. I mean, I'm glad, is it Lee Zeldin?
Lee Zeldin, yeah.
I'm glad that we have someone like him in charge, but that doesn't mean that the other workers, the crimes that exist through the EPA aren't going to change. And you can have a good chief, but if your Indians don't have integrity and ethics, I don't know. But I'm not trying to be negative. I hope he makes good change.
Sure.
But I think it needs to be shrunk. And I think unless you got good employee turnover, things aren't going to change.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, this obviously like shook you to your core when you found all of this out, especially with their reaction in threatening you passive aggressively. Yeah. Especially with your daughter. How old was your daughter at the time?
Oh, she's almost 21 now. I went to public school, so I can't do math, but
you and me both, girl.
She was probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5.
So you're going through this divorce, or you were divorced.
Yeah.
You have a 5-year-old. You're just trying to make ends meet. You're a single mom, and you start getting passive aggressively, indirectly threatened by the higher ups when you start blowing the whistle on what you're seeing. How has that shaped? I mean, if I'm you, I'm like, screw the government. I don't trust any of you MFers. Like I'm not trusting. I have to feel like that has shaped like your whole life and the way that you view everything.
Well, you would think that this is what did that, but actually it was realizing something about 9/11 while I was on active duty, because I went in right after 9/11. That kind of got me already going, all right, what is our government capable of?
Oh, gosh.
I can go into that if you
Yeah,
want me to.
yeah.
So when I bring up Tinker Air Force Base, one of those air logistics centers, they have aircraft there called AWACS. And just picture like a plane that has like a huge like dome. It looks like a big pancake on top. That aircraft is designed to hijack other aircraft. It can actually take over the controls. And I was doing a spot inspection. This had to have been in maybe 2003. And I happened to be standing with two high-ranking enlisted people during the base moment of silence for 9/11. And I remember this one, he was a master sergeant. He kind of did this like it was inconvenienced. And I remember thinking, that's rude.
Yeah.
And him and another guy who was a tech sergeant, that's a rank below that, looked at me and go, you don't know 9/11's an inside job? First of all, I had no idea what inside job meant. I didn't know. I'm just this ignorant little airman.
Yeah.
And they're like, hold on, you don't know? They're like, we were running the same joint exercise and we're told to stand down on 9/11.
They told you that.
Yeah. And then but it was like nothing to them though. Like, yeah, it was an inside job. I'm sorry, but if I was on active duty and I had solid proof that our government allowed it or had a hand in it, I wouldn't be staying in.
Right.
But I guess when you're that far in, you're maybe waiting for retirement. I'm not here to judge. But then I started seeing the whole like hashtag 9/11 is an inside job. But then I found Ron Paul. And then I started to realize, government isn't necessarily evil. We just don't let the good guys in. And once they're in, they can't get any bills through. But yeah, I mean, I've had quite the political journey, but I've always maintained hope in humanity.
Yeah.
I believe that people are inherently good. And I feel like what we're dealing with now, I'm a Ron Paul Republican delegate in my state. And I just feel like the tides are changing. Because what we did this last election cycle was get the youth engaged, just like the Ron Paul days.
Yes.
So.
You feel like well, I say Ron Paul reincarnated like he's dead. He's not dead.
I know. Don't say that.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it. I did take it out of the universe. I didn't mean it. Well, I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you speaking out. I'm so glad that you were in town and I could get a chance to speak with you. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, well, you can find me on X at Kristen Meghan, but I also work with an organization called WeThePatriotsUSA.org, a nonprofit organization that basically helps people fight anything that's violating your natural rights, your God-given rights, and your constitutionally protected rights, whether it's health freedom, custody, property rights. I've seen you talk about property taxes. Yeah, I'm exempt, but we have an initiative in Michigan too. But yeah, WeThePatriotsUSA.org is an organization that I'm tied to, but you can find me on X. I get a little spicy at night though. I like to fight liberals.
Listen. People who watch this show are like, I'm in. They're used to that.
I bring the spice, but it's for the greater good.
Of course it is. I mean, when you're talking about natural rights, I would say it's for the greater good. And I appreciate you being in the battle. It's a fight that, I'm like, this is literally the fight for our lives and our children's lives, because the Biden regime, boy, it was pretty scary there for a while. It was pretty dark for a while. So to be on the other side of that and to come out, the light was at the end of the tunnel. We've entered the light. Now, what can we do? What can we gain ground on so that those things don't ever happen to us again? So I appreciate all of your great work on that.
Thank
you. Come back soon.
Well, thanks for having me and giving me a larger voice to educate we the people. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, we'll be right back. Before we go, don't forget to check me out over at AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. Those of you who are asking, they're like, what was your lip color today? Well, it's Miss America. I'm wearing it on my lips. If you like it, go get it. AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. There's no H in Sarah. It's an unnecessary letter. We'll see you there and we'll see you tomorrow.